Jason, as it is every single week, today's episode of Lee Summit Town Hall is brought to you by our good friends, Budget Blinds of Lee Summit.
Budget Blinds!
I'm going to say this. I feel confident enough. I love those guys.
They're awesome. They're awesome.
They are good people, good members of our community, and you know, they provide the best place to do stuff for your home.
It's true. And you know what else they're going to do? They're bringing you the future.
The future is already here. If you go to our friends at Budget Blinds, it's automation.
Automation.
You know, those automated shades, they provide a safer environment for everyone, especially your kids. You get rid of those cords, they're bad things.
Right. They do provide a danger.
Pets are safer. And here's the fun part. I mean, like, safety's important, right? But are you ready for the fun part?
Yeah, well, really, let's sell it.
This is about laziness. Smart home features are about laziness, right?
The future is me sitting on my couch, doing things far away from my phone.
And my shades, my window treatments,
Up,
automated,
down,
programmable.
Open, closed, boom.
If you want to add those features to your house, do you know where you can go, Jason?
I'm going to guess. Budget Blinds of Lee Summit.
Budget Blinds of Lee Summit. Go visit them right in the heart of downtown. Tell them Jason and Nick sent you. Hello and welcome to Lee Summit Town Hall and this Friday conversation. With me today is, can I call you a very special guest?
Yes.
All right. My very special guest, Erin Albright. You're an author.
I am.
Which is awesome because I sometimes dream of writing a book, but that would take a lot of effort and even more talent that I don't have. So I'm not an author, but I'm going to live vicariously for the next several minutes through you.
Do it.
Awesome. So, Erin Albright, you are a lifelong, almost, Lee Summit resident. You grew up here. You left for a while. You came back.
Yeah.
You realized that Kansas wasn't good, so you came back.
Yeah. I grew up in Lee Summit, went to, all the schools in Lee Summit, and then went off to college at the University of Missouri-Columbia. Then lived in Kansas for 12 years, came back to Lee Summit probably 4 years ago now. And have been pleasantly surprised. I was a little bit nervous to come back to the town where I grew up just because I just had aversions to that concept, but I like it here.
Yeah, I think there's always that fear of coming back home because it's like, then did I really do anything?
Right.
Did I really grow up
Right.
or am I still just coming home to mommy?
Right. But it's been great. It's been good.
Well, I want to talk about your book. You are an author. You wrote Sassie's New Home.
Yep.
It's about pets. It's in the world of pets, and it's a sad subject.
Yeah, it's helping kids cope with the death of a pet. Specifically, the dog in the book's named Sassie, so helping kids with that concept. Because I hear a lot of times parents are like, they don't know how to talk about that, or they're worried, about how their kids are going to react, and, So it was just an important topic that I feel like I have actually an education background. I was a teacher back in the day. I've done a number of different roles in my life. And so they sort of all led me to this perfect place where I wrote the book because I have a teaching background. I do graphic design. And so I have, I love the aesthetic of like really cool illustrations. So it just sort of all married together in this.
Well, now you're hitting all of my favorite things. So you're an author, which I'm jealous of. And I don't know if people know this or not, but I really love teachers. They're awesome people.
Yeah.
I married one even.
Yeah.
I married one even. So, well, okay, I'm going to put this out on the record. I'm not a pet person.
Yeah.
I have very, very, very little experience with pets other than like other people's. And I love other people's pets.
Right.
They are fantastic.
Right.
And my only two experiences with pets, they died. When I was young, we had for a few years, we had a dog. I don't know that we ever had the conversation about
Was it just gone
about
one
the
day?
dog. Well, actually, I'm going to tell you my sad story because I know you get everybody's sad stories.
Yeah.
So my father died in 1983, and the day he died, the dog disappeared.
Are you serious?
Very serious. So that's my story. I don't remember ever like having a conversation with my mother or anybody else about it except for the dog disappeared, and I'm sure that's probably because everyone was focused on another thing.
Yeah.
And then my other experience was recently my son, who is now 12, got a fish for Christmas.
Right.
I wish now. I hope he doesn't listen because I'm going to forget the name. I don't remember what the first name was, but it was something that started with an F. The Fantastic the First. And that fish died after a few months, and it was weird to think about, like, okay, how am I gonna talk to him about this when he gets home from school?
Right.
And so we did what I think every parent who's had their kids have fish or other animals, that stressful conversation of, we've got some bad news for you, son. So that's my sad story. What inspired you to tackle why? Okay, why when you sit down to write a book? Would you want to be on this topic?
Yeah. So, well, I've had rescue dogs my whole adult life. And then we had a dog growing up. So I am a dog person.
Well, can I jump in real quick, because in case there are others like me.
Yes.
I know, because I asked a little while ago somebody what a rescue dog was, but I didn't know for a long time. So what are rescue dogs?
So my dogs that I've had as an adult, I've gotten from local shelters, and and one of them came from KCK Animal Control. Didn't have a name, was just living on the streets. We really don't know what his life was like. Had a weird aversion to anything with two wheels for some reason, motorcycles and bicycles.
Okay.
That was fascinating. The rescue dogs have little quirks, you see. But all dogs, everybody, humans, we all have quirks.
I don't know what you're talking about.
So anyway, so I have always had dogs that I've gotten from a shelter. And so when I got a house as an adult, one of the things that I was most excited about, it wasn't like, yes, I was excited about the house, but I was most excited that it meant that I could get a dog. Like, in my mind, that's just kind of, I've always wanted to have that. They're my family. They're a huge comfort and make me happy and make me laugh. So anyway, when my rescue dog, my first one, Max, passed away in 2015, I remember very clearly that my niece, I'll call her my niece, my best friend's kids, they're my family. So anyway, so Leah was about 5 at the time, and we were at the pool. We were it was maybe like a week after my dog Max had passed away, and Leah was trying to comfort me, and she was saying, I'm so sorry, Auntie Erin, that happened to you, and I don't want that to ever happen to anybody else ever again. And I was just thinking about her saying that and thinking of the fact that means to me she didn't understand that this was just going to happen. And she had a 12-year-old dog at the time. And so she didn't want this hurt or this pain to ever happen to anybody ever again. And it's a natural, it's going to happen in life. I didn't want her to think like that it was my fault, my dog's fault. It's part of life. It's going to happen. It's going to happen in your family too. Being a former teacher, I can weave a tale. I was an early childhood major, so I taught young kids up to 3rd grade. So I'm really good kind of creating the stories that kind of help them to understand and to learn. So anyway, so I on the spot kind of told her about how, it's okay, Leah, it's sad, I'm really sad, but I believe, I think that, that dogs go to heaven and there's milk bones on the trees and it's just this magical land, and I like to think that they're not here for as long as people are, because they are so excited to see us when we get home. They're wagging their tails. They're so excited. They make the best greeters. So they're the greeters that are greeting us and wagging their tails in heaven. And so, not to be super religious, but it's just one of those things that I just like to think of that place where, just kind of a magical place that they are after they pass away. And so I kind of explained that to her at the time. And then I think a while went by and I wrote the words down into a book, and it sort of took on a life of its own, and it got illustrated, and it came out in January of 2019, earlier this year. So.
Well, what is that process like a little bit? Because I tell stories to my kid all the time. Mm-hmm. And I think we all kind of, that's human nature. That's how we relate to things, and that's how we explain things. I mean, throughout history, right? That's stories, is explaining things we can't explain.
Right.
But what was it like was there a moment where you're like, I should write this down? Was there something like another instance, another occurrence, something happened, and you said, oh, I should tell that story to someone else? Like, how does that get from I'm helping someone close to me and we just made up this story and it worked to oh, I should put this on paper and I should make it a real thing.
Well, and I feel like Leah had said later on, it's kind of like what Auntie Erin said, their dog was getting older, Faith, and she's like, they're not going to be here forever. And I remember her saying that, and maybe it having provided her with a little bit of comfort and her remembering that story. And then also, as my friends who have young kids have all been dealing with this, I'm like, well, here's what helped Leah. Here's what I had told her, and I do think that it's kind of a comforting story. And so anyway, so it just was one of those things that kind of I had told, I think, several times, enough times that people had said, you know what, that's really something that helps me to have that conversation with my kids, and you should write that. So I did.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And you got to work with a friend, right, to do the illustrations.
Yeah.
So was that someone you come from the graphic design world? That's your real business.
Yep.
That's how you really make a living. So I mean, was that just you kind of went to somebody you knew and?
Yeah. So it's really interesting, and that's why it's like I took a lot of turns professionally. Like I was a teacher. I actually went to school as a massage therapist, graduated, substitute taught, and did massage therapy for like 4 months, and then realized that wasn't the thing either. And so then I was like, oh great, here I've gone to school for a lot of stuff that I'm not using, but. Ultimately ended up in graphic design, and it kind of all of the paths that I took made sense because one of the designers that actually worked for me, when we hired her, I remember her bringing in her college portfolio, and we were in a corporate design office, and so we were never going to use some of the illustrations that she had in her portfolio for that corporate job, but I never forgot that she had done that. And she had worked in college. One of her projects was a children's book illustration. And so I remembered it being great. And when I needed somebody to do this, I was still friends with her. She was a stay-at-home mom. And I reached out to her and said, hey, would you be willing? And I think she did a great job. So, yeah, so it's somebody that used to work for me and still does work with me. And so she illustrated it using, I think she calls them Copic markers. I'm not sure. But I can draw flowers, but I really can't draw dogs. Because I like to do some stuff myself, but this was out of my wheelhouse. So,
was it interesting to see somebody else take your words and then come through with the images they created in their head? I mean, and that's why I'll tell you, I have a smidgen of background in graphic design, but I love writing, and I think one of the reasons I love books more than anything is because everybody's going to have a different movie playing in their head when they read it. So I guess I have two questions. How much freedom did you give her, and then what was that like to see somebody else come back and see the images that your story created?
Yeah. So I was really specific as far as like, I detailed out all the pages, and on this page it needs to be, a little girl playing with her dog. And I think I said playing dress up. And so that page turned into the girl and the dog, the way that Alexander, the illustrator, the way she drew it was them playing superheroes. So the dog's dressed up like a little, like got a cape on or something, and then the little girl does as well. And so I gave her what I wanted. I wanted the little girl and the dog playing dress up. I wanted the dog sharing some of the little girl's snack, like getting some of the little girl's snack on one page. And then, I was very specific on what I wanted. And then she just made a character and then carried that character through. And she did a great job. So that's about as much direction as I gave her.
Well, again, how was it? Were there surprises to you that like her imagery from your words was not what you expected, or was it pretty seamless?
No, I mean, for me, I love her work anyway, and so I really knew that I would like whatever she did. And I also, there can be bridezillas, when you get married, and I know that I'm really not.
That's a great analogy.
Yeah, I'm really not that, and I'm not that when it comes to this book either. Like, I was just really just let her do what she does best, and she did a great job. I mean, there was times where, because she's a stay-at-home mom, so we had to spread out it takes a long time to do all of the illustrations, so we had to spread it out over like a year. All of 2018 we were kind of illustrating and doing all of that, putting the book together. And so we would have to revisit stuff because she would draw maybe something a month later, And we would realize once we got them all laid out and put together that it was supposed to be the same day, but the little girl's wearing a different dress or something like that. Like you'd have to go redraw some of that kind of stuff because you have to have continuity of, kids will notice that kind of thing. So
they notice everything.
They do notice everything. So we had to do that.
I'm a little curious about the process, a book making process. You said it took a year just to work with her, really, back and forth.
Yeah.
So what's for other people who say, okay, I've told a story, I've started writing it down, I'd like to explore publishing. I know there are a million options now of publishing a book. There's self-publishing. There's on like online dating versions of finding publishers, and there's all these different things. But I guess talk a little bit about that process of going from I've created this story to actually getting it out there, and then we're going to talk a little bit because we get to say this. You're a best-selling author.
Yes.
You topped some lists.
I did.
So we'll get to that part. We're going to tease people, make them listen to all of my boring talk. But what's that process like?
So, and I would say we were not in a huge hurry. I have a design business of my own that I was working, and Allie was a stay-at-home mom of 2 really young kids. So we were just sort of working, and coordinating our schedules to get together was kind of a nightmare. So it wasn't like a very intense, year. We just kind of got together and kind of worked on stuff when we could, and kind of had the beginning of 2019 in our head as when we would put it all together. So, but anyway, so as far as publishing goes, I did research it. I did send it to some publishers. And because I've never done a book before, they really don't give you the time of day. I now know about like Publicizer, which is that online platform, kind of like probably like the online dating platform kind of scenario for
and I know
publishing.
that's a little sarcastic
No,
and
but-
oversimplified,
no,
but
but
that's
that's a
kind
good
of
way to explain
I think
it.
that's the best way I could to explain that.
Yeah. And so anyway, so I didn't know about that at the time, but I researched self-publishing, and I researched all of the different ways that you can do it. There's some what I call, all the different book publishers have an arm of their business that does what I call concierge self-publishing, which means every one of the major publishers has a self-publishing division that you pay a certain amount of money to, and they will help you walk through the self-publishing route. But ultimately, they were going to own, and get a lot of the profits and own the content. And I just didn't want to do that. So I ended up researching truly self-publishing, and actually went to something here where we're recording at Bridge Space. They had something that was a local author, Jen Mann, who's amazing, come and talk about how to self-publish. And so anyway, so I did that. I worked through Ingram Sparks, which is an online platform to self-publish. That was what I was most comfortable with because as a designer, I wanted to do all the layout myself. I didn't want to give it to anyone to do it for me. And, I had the illustrator and everything. So I didn't want anybody's hands on it besides ours. So that's kind of how I did it. And, they actually fulfill to Amazon. So I'm able to do, just like any other, like Amazon Prime, like Ingram Sparks can get it to you overnight or whatever, or within a day or two. And then they also fulfill to Barnes & Noble, and they do all kinds of stuff just automatically. And then we've been working to get the word out and have it in local places as well. And I'm going to actually be traveling in the fall to a canine convention in Oregon where we're going to be talking about the book as well. So we're trying to get it found in other places.
Well, that's where I wanted to go next. Was this has kind of opened up some new opportunities for you? You've been able to go to some bookstores and do some signings and some speaking engagements, and it's kind of like this whole new thing for you. Talk a little bit about that and what that's like to all of a sudden you get this call. It's like, hey, come tell us everybody about your book. And
well, so we did our book launch at Bar K Dog Bar, which if nobody's been there, it's amazing. And it's a pet friendly, dog friendly. They have a dog park and really healthy, great food. And so we had our book launch there, and that was kind of my first kind of in front, the author of a book. That was our first thing. We were on the local news actually as well for that. A couple weeks was, I think, before the book launch. We were on the news. So anyway, it's been kind of crazy and exciting, and it's opened up new opportunities.
Because you went the self-publishing route, is that are you responsible for all of that promotion and marketing stuff on your own? I mean, have you had to kind of dig these opportunities out, or have people just found you too? I mean, how does that part work?
I mean, some people have found me. We've done the thing where literally Alexander and myself, we've like sent the book to like Jenna Bush Hagar and like Ellen, and like we've tried to get it, to go viral. So no, it's all us. It's whatever we can think up is what we do. And luckily having a, graphic design background for what I do, I can make a lot of the stuff myself, as far as the graphics and then, marketing materials and things like that. And so we've kind of done that along the way. So, and actually just recently was published with Smarty Paws. It's a local dog training business, and she has a blog. And so I just recently did a guest blog post helping kids cope with the death of a pet, and that was actually released Thursday. So. And
that, where is that blog site so people can go see it?
It's smartypaws.net. So yeah, and it's her blog that she does all kinds of amazing blog posts about, how to work with your pet on different topics. And then this was just as a family, how to help your kids cope with the death of a pet, because that's part of pet ownership, unfortunately.
Well, off air before we started this, you were telling me how you've kind of become the dead dog lady.
Yeah.
So now, because as this book gets around and you do some of these speaking engagements, that now everyone feels safe to tell you all of their dead pet stories. Which look, I just did it. I just did it to you myself. But is that both awesome and a little heavy, a little hard?
Yeah. So well, it's ironic. The most ironic thing, because growing up and as an adult, I'm not someone that can watch this, sad pet commercials. Like, I couldn't even watch Milo and Otis, which is a kid's movie, because I think Milo or Otis gets like washed down a river at one point or in some sort of danger, and I just remember it like stressed me out so much I couldn't watch it.
So Bambi's hard.
Right. Oh yeah, can't do Bambi. I didn't even watch Seabiscuit, because he gets hurt. So it is very ironic that it's me that gets to hear all these stories, but in a way it's kind of desensitized me. And I had somebody tell me, it's a gift. You've created this, it's helping people, and it makes people want to share and open up to you. So, you just need to look at that as a gift. So I kind of am.
Have you started recording everyone else's stories yet?
No, but there's been some doozies. You find out everybody's stories, so.
Well, now let's give you a little bit of opportunity. I want to let you brag a little bit, because you have topped a few of Amazon's lists, and a couple of other things. So brag to everyone of all of this success.
Yeah. So, well, when we were first released, we were a #1 new release for Amazon in the children's book category of pet loss and grief. And we stayed there for like a month. And then in addition to that, we were also #1 new release in children's pet books. And you're probably supposed to just stop there and just say you were a #1 release at new release for children's pet books. But I like to tell the actual story. So it was 2 hours on a Wednesday morning that, for whatever reason, I popped up into that category, which is a much broader category to be #1 in than children's books for pet loss and grief. And it was so exciting, and I took a picture of my book with that label on it on Amazon and everything. And Amber, who works here at Bridge Space, she saw it too and called, and she's like, you need to screenshot that, and I did. So it's been really great. We've had some really good success. We've had a lot of locally here in Lee Summit. I met with Kristen Forbes, who helps with parents as teachers, and they've talked about using it with kids in the right settings where they're needing to deal with that kind of a topic, and they're going into the homes of the young children. And so we've had plenty of times where I don't know, it just seems like our book is getting out there, it's getting found, people are using it to help kids, which makes me so happy. So
well, I think that is worth being happy for. You're allowed to brag
Yeah.
That's why I wanted to give you that opportunity. Well, let's. People want to find this book. They want to find you. Where can people go?
So locally here in Lee Summit, the book is at Katie Books, and then
Right in the heart of downtown Lee Summit.
It's also for sale at Barcade Dog Bar, and then at some Barnes & Noble locations locally. And then in addition to that, we are on Amazon and BarnesandNoble.com. Basically any online bookstore. I think there's one called Powell's. We're on there. You know, we're available at all the usual places online.
Well, here's the big question. What's the next book? Are you going to write more?
That's what
are there other
asks.
stories coming?
Yeah, that's what everybody asks. And, you know, I don't know. We've had people be like, somebody was telling me that they've had a turtle for their turtle's 45 years old or something crazy, and that I should write about turtles. And I've had other people tell me I need to write about, you know, when your grandma passes away, all these things, somehow I should be the one that helps kids with death, which I'm not really, I don't know. I haven't contemplated that yet.
Do any of us really feel that we could be an expert on that? I mean, that's well, and I guess that's my question. If you have other ideas, you're a creative person. That's what you do for a living. If you have other ideas, are they gonna be pets? Are they gonna be about death? I mean, or are there other topics, other things that interest you?
Right. Yeah. I have no idea. And honestly, it is really great getting this book found. And this book has been such a passion project that I don't want to move on from it yet. So I'm not sure. You know, I think I don't know. Hopefully I'll do another one. But this one right now is my main focus.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Erin, I appreciate you stopping by and sharing
for
your
having
story about your story
Thanks.
with everybody here in Lee Summit. We wish you the best of luck, and we will talk to you later. Because you know what, we're Bridge Space Buddies.
We are. We're space cadets. Bridge space cadets.
Well, thank you, Erin.
Thanks.
And we will catch everyone next Monday on the Lee Summit Town Hall podcast.
Awesome.
Today's episode of Lee Summit Town Hall is brought to the good people of Lee Summit by Shred KC.
Also good people.
They are good people. You know, we are lucky, Jason, in that our sponsors and partners that we've been able to work in, and now we've done a lot of episodes, Jason.
I know. Let's not talk about that.
We've done a lot of episodes, but we've been lucky to work with some really good people that are doing good things. And I'm just going to tell you right now, the folk at Shred KC and owner Ryan Waters, not just good for everybody else, it's good for me, Jason.
And now
it's good for me.
We've finally gotten down to the core of the subject matter. What's good for Nick?
What's good for Nick is good for everybody else. I think that really is the crux of all of this. I was not a fit. I'm still not there, but I was not a fit and healthy guy. And I knew I needed to make a change. I was nervous. I was hesitant. And I just finally made myself go in and ask. And they have been very, very supportive in helping me come up with a meal plan and making better, healthy decisions as I eat. And I'm even starting to work out a little bit now that the broken wing is healed. I'm going to get there pretty soon. You're going to go look at those posters, and it's going to be me.
Are you going to be lifting double-digit pounds?
I'm not there yet.
Okay, well, let me know when you cross that particular
I'm not there yet.
Down.
No. The arm can get me to 7 pounds.
Well, that's something. I mean, you had you were building up, and you had a huge setback, and now you're back. You're climbing back up.
I'm climbing back up, and the scale is climbing back down.
So you can't beat that.
So look, if you are ready to make some changes to try to live a little bit more healthy lifestyle, go see our friends at Shred KC. Tell them Jason Nick sent you. You have been listening to Lee Summit Town Hall, a Link to Lee Summit podcast with hosts Nick Parker and Jason Norberry. A proud member of the Fredcast Network, you can subscribe to this podcast on most of your favorite podcast apps and catch us every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for all the news, analysis, and conversations on the Lee Summit community. Connect with us on Facebook at Link to Lee Summit or on Twitter at LS Town Hall.